Democrats will take back the House if they win a handful of swing districts. One of those is in New York 17th, where Army veteran and former counterterrorism official Kate Conley is taking on Republican Congressman Mike Lawler. Kate Conley joins us now. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Give our viewers a little bit of your resume here. Why do you believe you're the choice for New York 17th?
Katie, so much of the reason why I've chosen the path of public service comes back to the character and values of the Hudson Valley, where service, I don't quote Mike Lawler often, but I love quoting him here because it's also going to be a big part of how I do beat him in November. Over 50% of households in New York 17 are either military members, veterans, law enforcement, or first responders. That sense of service is what led me to go to West Point after 9/11. Served 16 years, do 6 tours overseas, fighting for everyone in this country and in our community. And when we talk about the fight today to get our country back on track, to make America work for working families, it's for those same selfless reasons that I'm taking up this mantle, because right now, this country that I love more than anything, that I was willing to die for, that I've lost countless friends fighting for, it's being led the wrong direction by people who don't really care and becoming something I barely recognize. And so we've got to stop it. We've got to get back on track.
If Democrats take back the House, they could take back the Senate. What do you think should be the first piece of legislation that the party tries to pass?
It has to address the affordability crisis that is absolutely paralyzing families and making hard times into desperate times. On an earlier segment, you were talking about the struggles that families were facing. And here we are in the middle of summer, where families were hoping to take vacations and spend time with one another, but instead they're talking about, do we fill up the gas tank or the grocery cart? That's not okay. For the first time in modern American history, the economic prospects of young Americans are worse than their parents or grandparents. America is failing, and that didn't happen overnight. It's not just because of the Trump administration, although this administration has absolutely made it worse. And so is Mike Lawler. With his deciding vote on H.R. 1 last year, he chose to take health care away from tens of thousands of people right here in this district.
So would you go back to trying to extend subsidies? Is there something specific that you would push to get done to address all of those issues that you just laid out?
Yeah, I think there's two buckets to this, right? One, we unfortunately have to undo the harm that this administration has caused, enabled by cowards in Congress like Mike Lawler. So yes, reinstating things like Medicaid funding, reinstating the premium tax credits, ending the reckless and illegal foreign tariffs that are jacking up prices on everything from prescriptions to groceries. But we have to go beyond that, too, because there's other real issues. I will tell you one thing I think we do need to introduce and pass that was introduced prior is the HELPER Act. Create an American Public Service Home Loan Program that mirrors what I got to benefit from as a veteran with the VA Home Loan Program, where if you're a first responder, a nurse, a teacher, a social worker, after 10 years of service, you qualify for the same benefits, so you can live in the communities that you're serving.
The Republican Party, and this is going to include Mike Lawler, will be using what happened in New York City in these last primaries where the Democratic Socialist candidates had rousing success as evidence of a communist takeover of the Democratic Party. That's going to be their words. It already is their words. Do you see the Democratic Socialist candidates who won in New York City as a benefit or a liability to your campaign in New York 17th?
I think what we are seeing right now is voters, yes, within the Democratic Party, but I have to tell you, across the political spectrum, who are just sick of the utter dysfunction, sick of the fact that politicians in Congress and in the White House are willing to accept that problems are too hard and finding solutions is impossible. And that's not something that voters are willing to accept. And so they're craving leaders right now. We're going to say the dysfunction needs to end. We need to find a way to solve hard problems. That's literally government's job. And you are seeing voters across the board seek that type of leadership right now. So in New York City, they elected folks, and I'll tell you up here in the Hudson Valley, they elected a proud West Point grad and 16-year Army combat veteran who's very proud of this country. That's why I'm fighting for it.
So you believe big tent for the party, all kinds are welcome?
I believe we have to go beyond that. Look, we keep putting each other in these political silos, which is fueling the dysfunction. We've got to get to not only working within our own party, but working together as a government, period. And I think voters are sick of the fact that government has been so dysfunctional. I will tell you, every day I hear Voters are sick of not just the internal party fighting, but the partisanship in general. It's what's tearing this country apart. It's what's tearing our communities apart. It's what's tearing families apart. People just want government to work. And so tear down the silos. Let's get to the table and let's get the job done.
Yeah, it would be nice to get things done again in Washington. I'll give you that. Kate Conley, thank you very much for joining us.